Baby feeding. In the first months, feeding a child depends on his mother's milk or only milk substitutes that provide his nutritional needs. Here are all the details about the child's nutrition in the following. In the first months, the feeding of the child depends on breast milk or milk substitutes only. These are called nutritional compounds for the child that provide his nutritional needs. After the age of 6 months until the age of 2 years, the child also eats other foods in addition to breast milk and milk substitutes. Baby feeding. Signs your baby is ready to eat solid food. Here are some of the signs that your baby is ready to start tasting solid foods. The child succeeds in raising his head steadily while sitting. The child opens his mouth or extends his hands when food is brought to him. The child shows interest in the food of others around him or tries to taste it. Recommendations for feeding a child from 6 months to 12 months. From the age of 4 to 5 months, the child can be allowed to taste small amounts of simple food, and at the age of 6 months, he can move from the stage of tasting to eating these foods. It is important to accustom the child to new foods gradually. He cannot be allowed in one day to eat different types of new foods. The size of the dose and the gradualness are the most important keys in the beginning of the child's feeding. Here, we list a set of recommendations for feeding a child from 6 to 12 months of age. It is preferable to wait for a period of no less than 4 days before exposing the child to a new type of food, and it is not preferable under any circumstances to incorporate a number of new foods at the same time, and in this way you can prevent and detect food allergies. The child can be given water to drink from the age of 6 months. He must be given mineral water or cooled boiled water. The amount of milk or water incorporated into solid foods can be gradually reduced, as the baby gets used to consuming less of them and eating more of the food. It should be started with foods made from cereals that contain high levels of iron, in which the baby needs. Breast milk or milk substitutes can be mixed with semolina porridge. The child can then be given cornmeal porridge, rice porridge, or oatmeal porridge, which are rich in vitamins and minerals that help the child. It is best to start with vegetables, such as carrots, cooked and mashed zucchini after putting them in the blender, and sweet potatoes and pumpkin are also recommended. The soup can then be prepared containing all the vegetables the child knows, and a little red turkey, rich in iron, can also be added to the soup. Be sure to crush fruits before giving them to the child, such as apples, pears, bananas, and cantaloupe. All combinations of fruits are recommended. Rice can also be added to soup after the child gets used to some vegetables. It is recommended initially to give the child gluten-free foods and then expose him to foods such as pasta, bread, etc. At the age of 8 months, the child can be given 2 solid meals a day, for example, 1 serving of fruits and 1 serving of vegetable soup. At the age of 8 months, you can incorporate more vegetables, such as cooked tomatoes, boiled potatoes, onions, celery, and parsley. Recommendations for feeding a child from 12 months of age. Here are some important recommendations for feeding a child after 1 year of age. At this stage, the child enters the adult world and eats many of the foods that the rest of the family eats. The child needs to practice social skills, so sit him down and eat at a table with the rest of the family. Breastfeeding at this age should also be continued in addition to solid food. The child can be given whole grain products from the age of 12 months. The baby should be fed from a bowl or plate, not from a bottle. Over time, it is preferable to grind the food and break it into coarser pieces. It is preferable to give new solid foods in the afternoon hours when the child is alert and hungry. Establishing a consistent eating routine is preferred, as consistent eating times are good for developing healthy eating habits and for healthy growth. The child can be given cow's milk and eggs at the age of 1 year when the child's digestive system is mature enough, and it is preferable at first to give him the yolk, then move on to the white and the whole egg. It is preferable to give him milk products with a fat content of 9%, and it can also be given to him with 5%, but it is not preferable to reach very low levels of fat. The child can be given a little diluted fruit juice, which is a good source of vitamin C and helps in the absorption of iron. Fruit juice should be diluted because it may erode the enamel of the teeth, as well as because of the large amount of sugars in it. Natural juice that is squeezed at home is also recommended. There is no need to panic if the child refuses to eat a certain food. Like any other person, he also has his own preferences and personal taste as well. He may accept at a later time to eat the same food that he refused at this moment. We must know that a healthy diet for a child includes a lot of foods that provide energy, such as rice, bread, pasta, cereals, fruits and vegetables, etc., and small amounts of meat, poultry, fish, cheese, eggs, and legumes, such as lentils. Baby feeding warnings. Here are some warnings to be aware of about feeding a child. Always stay near the child when eating so that you notice any problems that occur, such as choking or allergies. Avoid giving your child honey before the age of 1 year for fear of food poisoning. Avoid giving the child cow's milk and eggs before the age of 1 year, as these may cause an allergic reaction. Avoid adding soup powder and salt to baby soup. Avoid giving the child food that may cause allergies or choking. Avoid giving undercooked eggs to a child for fear of food poisoning. Avoid giving the child drinks such as tea, coffee, and chocolate that contain extra sugars and caffeine. Do not exaggerate in eating sweets that may harm the health of his teeth. Avoid sauces and products as much as possible that may contain a lot of food dyes and preservatives. Avoid giving strong and spicy spices to the child. Avoid exaggeration in meals, as the child's stomach is small, so be sure to take the appropriate dose, and increasing a certain food, such as milk, causes him to have an allergic reaction such as diarrhea and the like. Avoid giving him sweetened drinks and juices so that the child does not get used to drinking these unhealthy drinks for him. Avoid foods that may cause choking for the child, such as pistachios, nuts of all kinds, popcorn, raisins, and other foods that may pose a risk to the child. Avoid giving your child foods that are too salty, which may cause health problems later in life.